Good morning. It is really a joy for the choir to be singing after 18 months of not singing in the service. We are thrilled to be here. And I just wanted to mention a few words about our opening song that we're doing for the prelude. This song is special to us. When I was choosing music, this particular song on the front said Claudia's Pick. And I realized that this song was chosen by Claudia Martin when she was directing the choir. So today we sing this song in loving memory of Claudia and with thanks and remembering her passion for music and her many contributions to the church.
Our opening words today are by the UU minister, Jean Pickett, and I'm going to ask for your help, actually, because there's a little refrain, which is pretty easy, and every time I go like this, you can say, "We give thanks this day." So let's try it once. We give thanks this day. I know you're going to be awesome. For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations. We give thanks this day for this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons. We give thanks this day for the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements. We give thanks this day for our human community, our common past and our future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression. We give thanks this day for high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared. We give thanks this day for all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom. We give thanks this day for human liberty and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and to grow, to affirm and to choose. We give thanks this day. We give thanks this day, and we pray that we may not live by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds.
Welcome, everyone. On behalf of the entire congregation, I welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Shenandoah Valley. I am Norma Riley, your worship associate for today's service. We gather together with our doubts as well as our convictions, with our fears and our hopes, with our failures and our aspirations, with our sorrows and our joys. Whether you are joining us today for the first time or you've been a member or friend for many years, we are glad you are here. Whatever faiths you have known, if any, whatever your background, whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived here, you are welcome. Now, as Reverend Julie comes forward, let us say together here and from our homes the words for lighting the chalice. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, to share. And I invite you to join with us as we say our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help our neighbor. To these ends, we covenant one with another.
Before we sing our opening song, we have a ritual that we share when we're able to be in person. And we've done this a couple of times on our recordings in these past months. Last Wednesday morning, we learned that longtime member James Massey passed during the night in his sleep at home. Jim was 89 years old and had recently been diagnosed with cancer. Jim was a good friend to many of us here at church, including the Romeos men's group, which just happened to have met last Wednesday for lunch and were able to mourn his loss in person. But of course, most of the time when we saw Jim, he was with his beloved wife, Shirley Maxwell, at his side. Jim and Shirley had moved from their Strasbourg home to Winchester a couple of years ago. Shirley's health has also not been the best, but they both have maintained their independent spirit with the help of their friends and neighbors and family. So I invite you to join with me to hold Shirley in a loving embrace at this time of loss. A memorial service for Jim will be held on Saturday, January 8th at 2 p.m. An obituary will be released soon that will detail Jim's rich life, his work, and many interests. Today, I have brought a few items that Shirley selected to include in our church member memorial tables already set up for Claudia Martin and Jack Jackson. Jim's display includes a photo and architectural model of one of Jefferson's homes and 2 of the 5 books that Jim and Shirley wrote together. I invite you to come up after the service to look at those in person. Although we will no longer see Jim's face among us, nor hear his voice or be able to feel the touch of his hand. Jim's presence will continue here in this community that he loved and considered his church home. He will continue on in our hearts and in our minds as we hold his memory dear. And now, as I extinguish our chalice flame to represent this sad loss to our community, I'll light one candle flame of love in memory of James Massey. In mystery we are born, in mystery we live, and in mystery we die. And now I invite you to turn to our opening song, number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. We'll sing all 4 verses because they're short and we need to have some fun after all this time apart. 5 verses, okay. There's 5 verses. I think the last verse is repeated again. Yes. So please rise as you are willing and able. And we actually have some instruments up here, some little drums and tambourines. I don't know if anybody would like to come forward to play an instrument during this song, but you're welcome to do that because we're leading into a time for all ages with our new acting director of Youth Faith Development. Yes, Sandra, maybe you can help pass out some fun instruments. All right, hit it, Elaine.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be our joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be our joyful day. Open your hearts and respond. Open your hearts and respond. Today will be our joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of the change. Don't be afraid of the change. Today will be our joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be our joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
Excellent. Good job, everybody. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce Rachel Holt Parker, our new acting director of Youth Faith Development, as she begins to introduce herself to the congregation.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. So I thought that I would introduce myself to you this morning by sharing some fun facts about me. So hopefully you find them fun. So I have lived in 6 different states and 2 countries. The other country that I lived in was Romania, specifically an area called Transylvania, which, yes, is where Dracula is from, but also where Unitarianism was started. And I went there after college, and I taught English to a small Unitarian congregation in the town of Seke Karastur, which is much easier to say than it is to spell. Number 2, when I was a little girl, My family and I live down the road from here in Fairfax, and I went to the UU Church of Fairfax. And my family and I made a ton of great friends there, including the Tickners. And such great friends that just a few weeks ago, my husband and I actually went to Catherine Tickner's wedding. So that's a pretty long friendship in my book. After I lived in Fairfax, my family and I moved to Concord, Massachusetts, and we went to, as my dad calls it, the motherland, First Parish in Concord. And the minister, while I was there, wrote a benediction that we would say at the end of church every week. And it went like this: Go out into the world in peace, have courage, hold on to what is good, return to no person evil for evil, strengthen the faint-hearted, support the weak, help the suffering, honor all beings. And those words spoke to me so much as a child and then as a young woman. So I actually got the first line, go out into the world in peace, tattooed on my foot. So I always have it there as a reminder for me to go out into the world. Number 4. My mom, who some of you might actually remember, Valerie Zucker-Holt, was also a lifelong UU, which is not as common for her age group. And she was my inspiration for everything in my life. She and I attended GA together many times. We traveled to Transylvania. I went on a choir trip with her. That was my first introduction to the culture in the country before I went and taught there. And then she even designed the tattoo that I have on my foot. And I think that she would just be so tickled that I am here serving as your acting director of youth faith development. She would be so proud. Finally, number 5, I have a husband over there, Jared. And we got married 7 years ago. Little bonus fun fact, Henry Tickner officiated our wedding. We have 2 beautiful sons sitting next to him, Caleb and Liam, who are very excited to start Sunday school here. We just moved back to this area after we lived in LA for 8 years, and we spent the last year of that living in an RV. So that was quite an adventure and an experience. So after the service, sometime in the future, whenever I see you in a more one-on-one environment, I would love for you to share some of your fun facts about you with me. And it's very nice to be here with all of you.
Thank you so much. So nice to have Rachel and our beautiful family with us. As we prepare for the sharing of joys and concerns in person once again, and the sun is coming out, I invite you now to finish arriving this morning. Settle into your seats, take a couple of nice deep breaths. Isn't it good to be together in person? It's been a very long haul. Away from church, away from many of our family and friends, away from so many of the activities that we were accustomed to before the pandemic. Put a major cramp, in all of our styles. So let us pause this morning in a time of silence to acknowledge this long road we've been on and its many challenges. In our shared silence, let us gently hold our grief for so many losses, including the loss of dear church members just in these past few weeks. In our shared silence, I also invite you to lift up in gratitude all of our veterans, both living and gone from us. In our shared silence, may we find solace and strength, comfort and compassion. Compassion for ourselves as we are, and compassion for our fellow travelers in this struggling world. Join with me now in silence.
Our words for reflection today are "We Bid You Welcome" by Unitarian Universalist minister Richard S. Gilbert. We bid you welcome who come with weary spirit seeking rest, who come with troubles that are too much with you, who come hurt and afraid. We bid you welcome who come with hope in your heart, who come with anticipation in your step, who come proud and joyous. We bid you welcome who are seekers of a new faith, who come to probe and explore, who come to learn. We bid you welcome who enter this hall as a homecoming, who have found here room for your spirit, who find in this people a family. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on our journey, we bid you welcome.
Welcome back. Welcome home again. How you doing? No, I mean, really. It's been rough. Has it not? If you are anything like me over these past almost 2 years, you have been through the whole gamut of emotions and stages in trying to cope with this global pandemic and how it's impacted our own lives. And as if a pandemic wasn't enough to worry about and get us down, we've also been mainly at home witnessing from our television sets, computer screens, or phones the ecological instability of our planet with a rapid onset of climate change, and the political and economic instability around the world, including our own nation. Not only are we under siege from COVID-19 and its variants, but climate change everywhere, and in the United States as well, a threat to democratic institutions as we have known them. At times, it seems that American democracy itself is on the ropes, being tested to its limits. And it appears that we may not pass the test this time to maintain our hard-won freedom and democratic values. So to say we are living in an age of uncertainty, I think is not a stretch. But of course, life by its very nature is uncertain, one could say. Thankfully, we live in an open-ended, as yet to be determined universe, despite centuries-old preoccupations with Armageddon and the end is near, the sky is falling admonitions. Somehow, things keep going. And this nature of life is seasonal, is it not? Always endings, always beginnings, always loss and grief, always new glimmers of hope, glimmers of joy. Did any of you happen to see the sunrise this morning? Was it not magnificent? Did any of you see it? Oh my gosh. The fall colors came very late this year, and I was starting to think they were not going to happen at all. But this past week, it really surprised me. The colors of the sky and the trees and the mountain ridges were just spectacular, were they not? I don't know if it's just the pandemic talking, but I felt the colors this week were the most brilliant and magical of the last 3 autumns in which I've lived here. It was really good for my spirit and my soul to see such beauty. It gives me a little hope and faith in our human and planetary future. Despite my beleaguered heart and worried mind. The 19th century mystic and German theologian, Meister Johann Eckhart, said, "If the only prayer you ever say in your entire life is thank you, it will be enough." The beautiful banner Mickey created for us. It's not always easy to be grateful or to find something to be grateful for. The worries and pressures of our everyday lives, of the world, can weigh us down with a huge weight. And we can kind of fall into a tunnel vision of life as a glass half empty or worse. As Unitarian Universalists, it's not unusual for us to wish on occasion that we shared the certain kind of certain faith that some of our neighbors have, that a larger entity is in control of the world, and a certain fate is coming for us, depending on whether or not we're the right kind of believers. As free thinkers, many of us don't necessarily have that kind of faith in the future. But we do have an enduring faith in the human potential for kindness. We have a faith in the versatility of the human spirit to overcome adversities of all kinds. We have faith in a universal love that has the power to save us and that does actually save us each and every day. Love of life, love of each other, love for this amazing planet Earth, love for ourselves as fallible as we are. To close my message today, I wanted to share with you one of my favorite poems. It is my favorite poem by the American poet W.S. Merwin. Listen, when the night is falling, we are saying thank you. We are stopping on the bridges to bow from the railings. We are running out of glass rooms with our mouths full of food to look at the sky and say thank you. We are standing by the water, thanking it, standing by the windows, looking out in our directions. Back from a series of hospitals, back from a mugging, after funerals, we are saying thank you. After the news of the dead, whether or not we knew them, we are saying thank you. Over telephones, we are saying thank you in doorways and in the backs of cars and in elevators, remembering wars and police at the door and the beatings on stairs. We are saying thank you. In the banks, we are saying thank you. In the faces of the officials and the rich and all who will never change, we go on saying thank you. Thank you. With the animals dying around us, taking our feelings, we are saying thank you. With the forests falling faster than the minutes of our lives, we are saying thank you. With the words going out like cells of a brain, with the cities growing over us, we are saying thank you faster and faster with nobody listening. We are saying thank you. Thank you, we are saying, and waving, dark though it is. May it be so. And now we'll invite our chalice singers forward to share our offertory music, the choral anthem, Something Told the Wild Geese. So we will accept our offering this morning, and I do want to just comment that our Share the Plate recipient for this month, you can go ahead and move forward if you'd like. Our Share the Plate recipient for this month goes to Afghan Refugee Resettlement, and there's a wonderful video if you guys haven't caught it. It was at the end of last Sunday's November 7th recorded service, and we'll be hearing more about them, and of course in the newsletter there's a lot of good information. We will now gratefully receive an offering to support the work of our congregation. Before I invite you to join with us in a closing song, I wanted to, oh, David, hang on just a second. Don't go anywhere. Yeah, just a second. This is not in our order of service. It's a little bit of a surprise, and I'm going to do it kind of quickly. But I wanted to just make the announcement and do a presentation of certificates of appreciation on behalf of our shared ministry committee. And they're not all able to be here today. Diana Lieber and Bruce Bryant are not here, but Judy Spurka, David Adams, and Dottie Cox are here. They're all members of the Shared Ministry Committee. And because it's just been such a long haul, the committee wanted to acknowledge how grateful we are to Pam Kime, our choir director, who has done an outstanding job throughout this, and to Elaine Wright, our wonderful accompanist, to Cheryl Wilhide, who has also kept things together from our church office through all of this crazy time, trying to keep us all, informed and connected with each other. And the Shared Ministry Committee also wanted to thank Robert Hurt for his extraordinary contributions to helping us get through the pandemic. And so, if you would, please turn to our closing song in our hymnals, number 331, Life is the Greatest Gift of All. And when you get a chance, you can give your own personal thanks to each of those important part of our worship and shared ministry team. Please rise as you're willing and able.
Hope you will consider making an offering after today's service through our webpage, uushenandoah.org. This will allow us to exercise that generosity of spirit for this self-supporting church and its many ministries, which continue during this time when not all of us are able to be together physically. Thank you for joining us today.
We receive fragments of holiness, glimpses of eternity, brief moments of insight. Let us gather them up for the precious gifts that they are, and renewed by their grace, move boldly into the unknown. Thank you for being with us today in our service. Stay safe and stay strong. All right, so we'll hold off on the postlude just for a second. And I do have just a couple of quick announcements for you. One is, if you haven't had a chance to see this wonderful art exhibit, take some time today to really look it over. If you didn't get a chance to see last Sunday's recorded service, November 7th service, check it out because they did just a lovely job featuring all of the artwork, and you get to hear from each and every one of the artists talking about their work. And they just did a really lovely job. And so we're just happy that we're back in this space before it all comes down and hope that you have a chance to both see it in person and on the video. We also, if you didn't know, we had an awesome live music service on October 17th out on the lawn, and the choir and Pam and Elaine and Henry were fabulous. And, you know, the recording didn't turn out so bad. So if you haven't had a chance, I mean, because we were outside and it was a little windy, you know, but the choir sounded awesome. And I definitely invite you to check it out. It's worth watching more than once because the music and everything was just really beautiful. There's a couple of other services. Recently, on October 24th, the sanctuary service, which happened to be the same day as Jack Jackson's memorial service, was a very nice service. And then the October 31st All Souls service that had Rachel's debut, telling the time for all ages, even though it was before we were able to announce. But I wanted to mention October 31st All Souls because the community memory table and the special tables that were set up for Claudia Martin and Jack Jackson, and today James Massey, are here. These will also come down this week, so if you haven't had a chance to see them, please come forward and take a look. And if you happen to have brought things to contribute to the community table or to Jack or Claudia's, please go ahead and take them with you today. So now, take it away, Elaine, and we'll see you at coffee hour. Thanks for being here today.